Pre-construction is where the builder is on paper, has plans of properties that they're going to build, and maybe they're going to come to fruition in 2 or 3 years. But the benefit is that they allow you at this point in time to do a payment schedule. $5,000 with your offer, maybe 90 days, another $10,000, depending on the property and its cost. Over a period of 2 or 3 years, you'll be putting down gradually up to 20%. This allows those that don't have the funds at hand to now schedule and prepare themselves over a 2 or 3 year period. And the other benefit is that property that you bought today over 2 or 3 years has gone up in value. And when they release phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, every time the builder is going to build in a profit margin on those people that invested with them, those people that bought with them initially. So in that case, it's a great opportunity for first-time buyers to get into the market. There's positives in there, but the negative is there are often costs at the end of that you don't know until you come to the end. So those costs would be like municipal costs. So let's say that they're building a condo, and based on where the condo is situated, they've got to bring in the electrical, they've got to bring in the plumbing. All those costs get transferred over to the buyers at the time of closing. So if you have a good lawyer, and if you're aware, what you can do is you can cap the amount of those costs at the end. So where they have the possibility of going up to 18,000, you could say that those costs cannot be more than 10. And a lot of builders right now, based on the climate of the real estate market, are good with that. The other thing that you have to look at as well is to see if it can be transferred or assigned. So we have what's called an assignment. An assignment is where maybe for some reason, you have the inability to close, or you're looking at the profit that you've made over the last 2 or 3 years and you'd like to cash out on it. So some builders will allow you to assign, meaning sell the property's paperwork because the property still hasn't been built or closed. So you're going to assign it to somebody else by letting them purchase it, and then they will close and pay all the fees that are associated with closing on that deal. Some builders will allow you to assign with zero, doesn't cost you an assignment fee. Some right now are doing marginal $500 or $1,000 to assign a property. Prior to this, some builders would say there is no assignment. Problem with that is that if you put down your 20% over the last 2 or 3 years, and now the time comes to close and you cannot find the mortgage, you've lost your deposit. The other issue was some would say, okay, we'll allow you to sign it, but there's a $10,000 fee. But based on today's climate, they're allowing typically zero on assignment or very minimal, $500 to $1,000, which is excellent. So phase 1, when you're purchasing a property, is when the contractor initially sets out that I'm going to build this property at this location and here are all my plans and the costs associated with that. Once they sell out of that phase, if they have anticipation of another phase, then they will start to sell that phase at that point once they've broken ground, or maybe have taken the first phase to halfway completion. The benefit is that when they start to sell the second phase, you've purchased phase 1 at $200,000. The second phase now, they're asking $280,000. Perfect. Because of what they're asking, you've now made $80,000 on your property based on what the market is determined. And as it goes on, when they start to build phase 2, and now they offer phase 3, there will be another assessment bringing again up your value. That's the benefit of purchasing initially on pre-construction. When you purchase pre-construction, typically the builder is going to ask that with your, maybe not your first deposit, somewhere in the line of your deposits, they'll want to see what's called a mortgage verification. They want to see that you've already been approved by a mortgager for the end purchase price. And again, the end purchase price is going to vary because you're looking at your land transfer tax, you're looking at all the other costs that are associated that we already spoke about, capping so that it doesn't go up anymore. But they want to have an idea that you're good to go. So the mortgage verification works this way. You're going to take the agreement of purchase and sale to your mortgage broker or your bank. They're going to look at that and do their mortgage application to see if you qualify for this purchase. The earlier you do this in that process, the better it is for you. Because there is nowhere in that paperwork that you're going to get from the builder that says that should you fail to get the mortgage verification, they will give you back your deposits. So if you put down 20% and now you're just getting your mortgage verification and you cannot qualify for the mortgage, you could potentially lose your deposit. However, this is where that assignment comes in. In order to not lose your deposit, this is where you're going to rely now on your ability to assign it to someone else and then recoup your deposit from there, and that person will go on with closing. So that's why those two things are very important. And the earlier you do your mortgage verification, the earlier in the process you do your mortgage approval, the better it is for you. Unless you have deep pockets or big money, if you're looking to purchase a condo for investment purposes, some things you might want to take into consideration. One, when you put down only 20%, it gets you away from the CMHC fee, which is fantastic. But then there's those other closing costs that you also have to look at. And in addition to that, until the whole condo is registered, you're not going to know exactly what your fees are going to be. Maintenance fees, property taxes still need to be assessed. So all these things, so let's say for instance that the home is $200,000, the condo, and you're putting down 20%, which then means that you're putting down $40,000 on this. So your mortgage is still $160,000, and you've taken that, and let's just use 10% just to keep it simple. So you're paying approximately $1,600 a month for your mortgage, but then you also have your property taxes. And your property taxes at this point might be $2,000. So you're paying, let's bring that up to $1,800, mortgage plus property taxes. And they've told you that you have 1,000 square feet and you're at 60% for maintenance fee. So your maintenance fee is going to be $600 a month. So we have the $1,600 for your mortgage, the $200 for your property taxes, and the $600 for your maintenance fee. So all in all, it's $2,400. So now you, as that investor you are, say, okay, I know I could get $2,500 all day for this property. And you rent it out successfully for $2,500. All the other properties start to sell, they're all closed, and now they assess your maintenance fee, and not that 60% that you anticipated, but because they've realized that there's a little bit more cost involved with the security guard at the front, with the cameras, with the maintenance of the Pilates room and the swimming pool and tennis court, that you're actually paying a little bit more, like $720. Remember, all your costs are $2,400. Your rental was $25. And now they've brought it up by $120. So now you're actually $20 negative. And you're limited in regards to how much you can increase your rental by the landlord and tenant board. So let's say 3 years down the road, there's a special assessment because something has happened and they need to get something replaced. And they say, okay, well, right now our maintenance fee is going to be $800. We have to increase it. And now you're $100 deficit, but you also are limited by how much you can increase your rent. So that's some of the pitfalls that you have to look at. Now, if you have deep pockets, we just spoke about putting 20% down. But if you can put down 30, 40, 50%, now you're talking, because you have that cushion in regards to the mortgage, that if things like that should happen, you could still absorb it. So that's just one of the things that you got to look at. I'm not saying it's a bad investment, because if it's the right person, it can be a great investment. Here you have a property that might be, let's just take a scenario and say $120,000 condo. And you buy that condo cash, $120,000, which either you've saved up, you've utilized maybe some of your RSP, or you've taken out of an existing property. You now rent out that property. Rent it out for 1 or 2 years. Hopefully that property is going to appreciate in value. And at some point, you could look to take the monies out of that property and invest in something else. Here's the best case scenario. Let's say that you got the property undervalued. Because you're paying cash, you get a good deal on it. The property that you just bought for $120 is actually worth $165, maybe $200 after you do a little bit of renovations. And you're able to get it appraised at an over $200,000 value. So you could take some equity out of that property, as long as you make sure, this is very important, you make sure that whatever you have it rented out for covers the expansion of that mortgage. So if you're getting $800 and your mortgage, because you've paid all cash, is $0, but you have to look at your maintenance cost. So if you add your mortgage and your maintenance together, and it comes up to maybe $700 after you take out maybe $40,000 or $50,000, that $50,000 mortgage plus your maintenance fee is $700. You're still $100 positive. So you could take that $50,000 and invest in another property. Now you'll have 2 properties growing for you. So this is how we get into the $1 Million Club. Stay tuned.